I'm very happy to be here. As you know, my name is Nayibe Rosado, and I'm very thankful to ALTE, and to Nick and Graham and Maria Angela for their welcoming and making possible this presentation here. I'm very thankful also for people who are online watching this wonderful event. Thank you. And I'm here on behalf of LAALTA, as it was mentioned, at my university. And we're talking a little bit about this perspectives that we have gathered about language policies, language testing policy, quotation mark, and some local tests that are being in use in Latin America. And we did that through archival work that our LAALTA members have helped us collect. And we're presenting here very preliminary data about this situation. And please excuse me if there is any accuracy or misinterpretation. We would be mindful and people's contributions and data. So thank you very much. From this group of countries, we have participation of 8 countries: Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Brazil, Costa Rica, Mexico, Ecuador, and Peru, and the contribution of different people who have teacher or administrators or roles. In this table, you can see like a general landscape of the situation and the themes that we used to organize the data that we received. So in the first column, you would see the name of the countries that contribute to data. In the second, we asked them, is there a language policy in your country? And most most countries have a language policy. And this language policy is sometimes in the constitution of the country, or sometimes it's just a de facto policy in which the first language in the country is considered for any other decisions regarding testing and other curricular alignment and methodological issues in the educational system. Interesting, the case of Brazil, where there are 217 indigenous languages, and out of those, 13 are considered co-official. And also in Brazil, the migration was very ample back in the day, so 41 municipalities also have co-official languages from those migration population. In Colombia, too, we have 65 languages, indigenous languages, Creole, Palenquero, and so in every country in the list. So there is a lot of presence of indigenous languages as well as other languages that have been the results of the mixture of cultures and languages in the country. As well as in Brazil, they have sign language, considering the constitution. In Colombia, we have sign language too, and maybe in other countries, but people didn't report it but so far. In terms of language testing policy, you can see that in Argentina, they don't have any that is being declared, right? In Brazil and Colombia, yes, and as I said, in Brazil and Argentina, there is a special mention in the language policy to the indigenous and other languages that are spoken in the country. In Chile as well, there is this curricular document that is used in order to design assessment in the country. So it's taken by the municipalities and then it's adapted for assessment and evaluation purposes in the country. Standards, we asked, are you using any standards? Are you adopting any standards? And in Argentina, they have their own standards that they call núcleos de aprendizajes prioritarios for foreign languages, which is like the core language priority learning basic learning that foreign language people who are learning foreign languages should address. So this is kind of the standards for them. In Brazil, they say they don't use standards. However, educational sectors are using the Zephyr in order to design a curricular, to design the curriculum, to design exams. And in Mexico, they have their own standards that they call the CENI, the CENNI, that is an adaptation from the Zephyr and from the Canadian benchmark. So there is a strong presence of Europe in Latin America through standards. We also asked, we wanted to know a little bit about the national test. Do we have national tests for first languages, for Spanish, Portuguese? So it's 50-50 situation. Some countries do have a national test. Colombia does. We have Zephyr exam that assesses first language. And also in Argentina, there is a group of universities, a consortium of universities that design an exam, the CELU, that is used for first languages. In Brazil, there is one exam, the Zephyr, that is used, but mostly for foreigners who want to demonstrate their language level in Portuguese. In Colombia, we have, as I said, the Zephyr that assesses that, but we also have an exam for sign languages, for communicative competence in sign language. I didn't know that. I discovered that through the archival work we did. We have then national exams, but we don't have like a benchmark for that, right? So there is no way to know what they are aligned to in general. So that's a question that probably we need to consider. In terms of, is there a national test for L2 that's been designed in the country? Well, we find in Argentina there isn't any now, but there was one until 2019. It is an exam that they designed in Buenos Aires, and that has been in use and was discontinued during the pandemic. We don't know if that's coming back. They are using it again now in this new situation, or what's gonna happen. In Chile, there isn't any exam. However, they have been in different pilots of international exams, like the TOEIC, TOEFL, APTIS, but they have taken a group of samples. They have applied these exams to samples of the population in high school, and there has been a lot of resistance from the communities in terms of why are we using these exams, why are we applying these exams, and there are even demonstrations happening sometimes when these are applied. The same has happened in Argentina when they have tried to apply national exams at a national level. But in general, what people use as national tests for education, mobility, cooperation, migration to other countries are the battery of exams of at the international level, so that you are all familiar with. So this is a general landscape. In terms of language standards, then we can say that the Zephyr rules. Like we have been using the Zephyr for different purposes because it gives us these levels, the support behind, the research behind, and I think it has a lot of credibility in Latin America. Resistance as well, but we won't talk about that now. So that would be like the language, the framework that is most used in Latin America. Even though the United States, they also have standards, it seems to be, because of the configuration of the country, it seems to talk more to us about the diversity that is also part of the Latin American context. So, as I said, these are local exams. The one from Argentina, the CELU, in Brazil, the Zephyr that I think is very recognized worldwide. In Colombia, the Saber that we apply to students exiting high school at the end of the high school cycle, and also to students exiting the university. They need to take an English exam that is considered now the other part of bilingual, like Spanish and English, so they take that Saber exam. And in Costa Rica, there is a lot of knowledge about test development now going on, and they have the UCR English language tests. But mostly what we use is international exams that have been designed probably in Europe or in other big companies that are, experts in designing exams for foreign languages. So this is the scenario so far. Now, we have identified some challenges. Some of the challenges come from the data, some my own creation, so bear with me there. The biggest challenge would be also a biggest blessing, autonomy. Like each country has these possibilities to create, to design, to read the context, to read the needs, and design from their policies, the tests, and also the curriculum for each country, for a region, in the region. But are we using this autonomy, this agency, this power to our advantage? That's a question we have. Can we do better? Probably we could. The second one is assessment, literary assessment. We are so in our infancy there. We're just learning how. We're learning from the experiences in Europe, which are very similar to ours in the sense that there are different countries, different languages, so we're learning from that. But we're still in our very initial steps in that learning process. Experience on design and language testing, assessment, well, that's a big challenge. There is so much for us to learn, to construct, to share in Latin America. Different stakeholders at different levels need to come together and think about those challenges that we have. And then, as you see, we have policies, but sometimes we don't understand what those policies are about, and we didn't participate in the policy. We feel the policy is not really representing us, and in particular, the communities, like minority communities, are not really represented in those policies, language policies sometimes, general ones, even though they are declared, like, okay, we are supporting minorities, languages, indigenous languages. That is not really evident until this moment in any other decision regarding testing, for example. So, and we don't know a lot about the revision or updating or inclusion of other voices in those policies. So we need to learn more about what's going on there so we can make changes or adapt or make suggestions in that sense. Opportunities then, as you may see, plenty of opportunities in terms of what we can construct. We can construct a regional narrative if we want it. We can construct discussions that really can contribute to improve what we're doing so far with the resources that we have. We have a lot of opportunity for including the minorities, the languages of the minority too. We have a lot of opportunities then to grow in our literacy in terms of policy design, policy implementation, policy monitoring at the different levels. Policy in particular educational institutions, but also policy at country level, for example. And one of the opportunities is the possibility to continue exploring the strengths that we have been building as separate countries and the possibilities that we all together could create for what's coming. So those opportunities we have to seize now in Latin America. We are at the infancy, like we are just like taking baby steps now towards what we would like to see in the future as a strong regional community with knowledge and literacy about testing, assessment, and probably with a positive watchback towards the country policies for language in general. Because we think that could impact a lot teacher education, curriculum, and methodological decisions that happen at every level. So to conclude, we are at the very beginning of a process that probably most of you have already walked in Europe and in other countries. But we have needs and ideas. For example, we need more Latin American professionals to incorporate language testing and assessment among their goals for professional development so they can contribute back to what we're doing in our country. So we need to have professionals who are expert enough to help us move forward in policy and task development. We need to continue the discussion in Latin America about language assessment and testing, and not only as a small community of these people who are interested in language testing and assessment, but also we need to include the voices of those who really can help us make a change, educators. If we don't include them, then we'll be, doing this the wrong way. So whatever we do in Latin America, in LAALTA, should be also addressing the needs and the voices of those people who are left out from the discussions. Now, I really thank you for being here. I know you have many questions and comments. Please don't ask. Ask Walter Araya, our partner in LAALTA from Costa Rica. And on behalf of LAALTA, thank you very much for attending. If you would like to register to LAALTA, there you can do it. And maybe we can continue this conversation. So now, please, if you have any comments or questions, please